the bustling heart of London's television studios, where the hum of cameras and the chatter of crew members create a symphony of controlled chaos. Gary Oldman arrived on the set of ITV's beloved morning show, Lorraine, hosted by the effervescent Lorraine Kelly. It was a crisp autumn morning in 2025, and Gary, the chameleon-like actor renowned for his transformative roles in films like Darkest Hour and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, was there to promote his latest cinematic venture, a gritty, introspective drama titled Shadows of the Crown, where he embodied a tormented monarch grappling with the ghosts of colonial legacies. At 67, Gary carried himself with the quiet intensity that had defined his career, his salt and pepper hair neatly combed, his sharp blue eyes scanning the brightly lit studio as if already inhabiting another character's skin. Lorraine Kelly, a Scottish icon with over 4 decades in broadcasting, greeted him with her trademark warmth, her laughter echoing like a comforting melody as she ushered him to the plush velvet sofa, the audience of early risers applauding politely from their seats. The show, a staple for millions tuning in for their daily dose of celebrity gossip, lifestyle tips, and lighthearted banter, promised a segment filled with anecdotes from Gary's illustrious path. From his raw debut in Sid and Nancy to his Oscar-winning triumph as Winston Churchill. Little did anyone anticipate that this seemingly innocuous interview would unravel into a spectacle of raw emotion and unfiltered confrontation, etching itself into the annals of British television history as the moment when respect clashed with recklessness. As the cameras rolled, capturing every nuanced expression under the unforgiving glare of studio lights, Gary settled in, crossing his legs with a subtle nod to the director, ready to delve into the vulnerabilities that fueled his performance. The studio, adorned with pastel backdrops and fresh floral arrangements that evoked a cozy Scottish cottage, pulsed with the energy of live television, where every second demanded precision and charisma. Gary Oldman, seated opposite Lorraine Kelly, had just finished regaling the audience with tales from the set of his new film, describing how he'd immersed himself in archival footage and whispered dialogues to empty thrones to capture the king's fractured psyche. His voice, rich with the cadence of South London grit honed over years of stage and screen, wove a tapestry of artistry that held the viewers captive, their remote controls forgotten in laps across the nation. Lorraine, ever the consummate professional, mirrored his energy with animated gestures, her bangles jingling like tiny bells as she nodded vigorously, interspersing questions with compliments that flowed as naturally as morning tea. "You're not just acting, Gary, you're resurrecting souls," she declared, earning a round of applause that rippled through the studio like a gentle wave. Yet, as the interview progressed, the script deviated from its promotional blueprint, veering into territory that tested the boundaries of banter and boundary. It started innocuously enough, with Lorraine circling back to Gary's personal life, her eyes twinkling with mischief as she referenced a recent profile in The Guardian that had dubbed him Hollywood's eternal enigma. Enigma indeed. "Tell us, Gary, is there a Mrs. Enigma waiting in the wings? Or are you still the lone wolf howling at the moon?" The question, laced with flirtatious levity, drew chuckles from the crowd, but Gary's response was a polite evasion, his eyes darting to the teleprompter as if seeking an exit cue. He spoke of his children with quiet pride, the joys and heartaches of co-parenting across oceans, his words laced with the vulnerability that had endeared him to fans who saw beyond the makeup and mannerisms. Amid the kaleidoscope of colors and the soft glow of ring lights that bathed the Lorraine set in an aura of approachable glamour, the conversation had danced on the edge of delight and danger, Gary Oldman's anecdotes about his directorial forays intermingling with Lorraine Kelly's quick-witted asides that kept the pace brisk and engaging. He described the alchemy of Shadows of the Crown with poetic precision, likening the editing suite to a confessional booth where raw footage yielded polished penance, his hands gesturing as if sculpting invisible clay. The audience, a mix of housewives, retirees, and aspiring thespians, leaned forward in their seats, captivated by the behind-the-scenes sorcery that transformed ordinary actors into extraordinary icons. Lorraine, her posture impeccable despite the rigors of a 5 a.m. call time, absorbed his tales with wide-eyed wonder, her follow-ups probing yet respectful at the outset. Queries about co-stars, location shoots in fog-shrouded Welsh castles, and the serendipitous discoveries that breathed life into static scripts. "You've got that rare gift, Gary. Making the fictional feel painfully real, she praised, her sincerity cutting through the performative sheen of television. Gratitude flickered in Gary's eyes, a rare unguarded moment that hinted at the toll of constant reinvention, and he reciprocated with a compliment on her enduring vitality in a cutthroat industry. But as the producer's earpiece buzzed with reminders to amp up the drama for the demo, Lorraine's questions took a sharper turn, delving into the underbelly of Gary's past with the subtlety of a headline. She referenced his 2014 interview where he'd lamented the misogynistic labels slapped on ambitious women, twisting it into a gotcha. You called out Hollywood's boys' club, yet here you are. The Lorraine set, with its array of sponsored segments flashing on side screens, from skincare routines to holiday getaways, served as a comforting cocoon for celebrities navigating the promotional grind. But on this fateful day, it transformed into a coliseum of candid confrontation. Gary Oldman, his posture a study in restrained eloquence, had just navigated a minefield of queries about his fitness regimen for the role, joking about trading whiskey for wheatgrass with a self-deprecating grin that elicited warm applause. Lorraine Kelly, her energy undimmed by the escalating undercurrents, steered the dialogue toward his vocal evolution, marveling at how his Churchillian growl had become a cultural earworm. You've got voices in your arsenal that could launch 1,000 ships, or sink them, she quipped, her laughter inviting reciprocity. Gary obliged, recounting a vocal coach's mishap on set that left him croaking like a raven for days, the story landing with perfect timing to reset the room's rhythm. Applause swelled again, a brief reprieve that masked the gathering clouds, as commercial teases played in the background, promising more revelations post-break. But upon return, with the audience resettled and caffeine coursing through veins, Lorraine's tone sharpened once more, circling back to Gary's off-screen persona with renewed vigor. Now, Gary, let's get real. You're the king of brooding intensity, but off-camera, are you as stormy as they say? Sources whisper you're a handful in rehearsals, demanding the impossible. The accusation, cloaked in faux familiarity, struck like a misplaced stage direction, implying diva antics where discipline reigned. Gary's eyes narrowed, the warmth draining from his features as he processed the slight, his mind flashing to grueling 18-hour days where his demands were mere pleas for authenticity amid studio shortcuts. Chaos erupted in the wake of Gary Oldman's abrupt departure from the Lorraine set, the studio transforming from a haven of hospitality to a whirlwind of whispered recriminations and hurried huddles, as crew members scrambled to fill the void with ad-libbed segments on autumn-fashion faux pas. Lorraine Kelly, her composure cracking like fine porcelain under strain, turned to the camera with a forced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, ad-libbing a transition to the weather report while her mind reeled from the unexpected exit. Well, folks, that was certainly memorable. Stay tuned for more, she managed, her voice pitching higher than usual, betraying the adrenaline crash as the floor manager cued frantic applause to mask the awkwardness. Behind the scenes, Gary strode purposefully down the corridor, his heart pounding not with regret, but with a cathartic release. The cool air of the green room hallway a balm against the studio's stifling scrutiny. He paused to collect his thoughts, pulling out his phone to text his publicist. Walked. Headline inevitable. Handle with care. The message sent, he exhaled deeply, reflecting on the interview's trajectory, from congenial exchange to condescending cross-examination, and affirmed his choice as necessary armor against further erosion. Back on stage, Lorraine huddled with producers, her bangles clinking nervously as they dissected the meltdown. Did I push too far? He seemed fine until... One exec nodded sympathetically, another scrolled Twitter for early reactions, where hashtag Gary Oldman Walkout was already trending, a mix of outrage and ovations flooding the feed. Bloody brilliant, he stood up for himself, tweeted a fan, while critics decried the host's tone-deaf jabs. The control booth replayed clips, analyzing Gary's micro-expressions, the initial flinch, the building resolve, fueling postmortems that would shape spin strategies.